everyone. A couple months ago, I made a video sharing this watercolor curriculum that I had gotten from Thistles and Biscuits. And today, not today, but earlier this week, I finished doing this curriculum, working through it myself. And so today I wanted to kind of give you my review on it and kind of show you my watercolor journey and share a few other resources that you might enjoy using after you finish this one. All right, so this is an art study by Thistles and Biscuits. I believe this is one of their secondary units meant for middle school and high school. I bought it because I wanted to do it, and I also thought it might be something that my middle schooler could do. I have decided after going through it that I will probably hold off having her do this until high school, and that's mostly just because of the amount of reading that you have to do. Now, she's a good reader, so that's not really what I mean by the fact that there's a lot of reading, but you have to have a lot of patience to kind of sit and read through the lesson and then do the steps of the lesson. So I think for her age, even in middle school, she would benefit more from like video type lessons. Also, you have to have a lot of patience when you're doing watercolors to like let things dry. And I don't know that she has that patience yet because I don't really have that patience. So I do think this is a good study, and we will use it, but I will save it probably for high school for her. But at any rate, let me kind of show you. I did do a flip through of this. I will link that video. But there is an introduction with materials, value scale, a chapter on texture and strokes. Then they go through the wet on wet technique, the wet on dry technique, and then there's additional projects. And I did appreciate that they go through different materials and talk to you about how they're used and what you're looking for. And then they also have somewhere in here, I may not have printed it in here, but they link to tools that they recommend on Amazon, and they break it down by like middle grade, like middle of the road, kind of mid quality, and then like higher end. So you can kind of pick which you'd prefer to use or what your budget will allow you to use. Okay, so the first chapter here is value scale, and this was, fine. You kind of do some swatches of your colors, and then you do a couple little projects using those. They have a landscape and a couple landscapes that they show. I did a couple of them. Let's see. I did this one. Clearly I added black marker to mine. And I did this one. They also then have a chapter on texture and strokes and different like techniques that you can use. Those were kind of fun to do. I don't really have much to show because I covered mine with black marker in my notebook. I made designs over it. Okay. But anyway, there's just different techniques using like a paper towel or some rubbing alcohol or things like that you can add kind of to your art to get different techniques. And then they go through different kinds of brush strokes and take you through some exercises with that. And then there's a project where you can kind of apply all of those, and that was fun as well. And then you get into the wet on wet technique, which is so hard. It's just hard. Watercolors can just get away from you, and it can be frustrating, but I thought that they did this very well. Again, you really have to sit and kind of read through the lesson, and then you have to kind of play around, but I think the way that they laid everything out made sense. The only thing that I wish is that in some of the projects that they would have said, here's the recommended size paper and brush size for this particular project, or if you're going to do it on the smaller size paper, this would be a good brush size. That was really the only thing that I found maybe would have been helpful for me. So they teach you the wet on wet technique. You do some bubbles, some fruit, and then you get into some projects. I'll show you the ones that I did. Let's see. Here are my bubbles, which I say look kind of maybe more like marbles, I don't know. My pear that I did. And then these were the last two projects in the wet on wet that I did. And I turned mine into a card. I have trouble just leaving things as they are, apparently, obviously, whatever. Anyway, so those were the projects in the wet on wet. And then you get to the wet on dry, which I find a little bit easier to control. And again, they have you test some things out, and then you get into some projects. I didn't do all of the, oh wait, was this dry on? That was wet on dry. What did I do from wet on wet? Let's see. Oh, just the gift was wet on wet. Oh, I did the pear, and I did do the watermelon, but I gave it to my daughter. All right, so this one was the wet on dry in the wet on dry section. The rest was wet on wet. So again, they take you through a couple projects using that technique, the wet on dry, and then there are additional projects in the back. And I didn't do all of them because one of the other kind of issues is if you're not strong in drawing, that some of these could be a little difficult or maybe seem a little frustrating if you're not great at drawing. So I think I did, I'll show you. I did the carrots, I did the cactus, I did the butterfly, cupcake. I skipped a couple. I'll show you the ones that I did. And again, mine are kind of collaged with other things. So I did the butterfly. I did the carrots and the cactus and the cupcake. And then I was not patient, and when I was painting the cherry, I hadn't let this dry all the way, and so my cherry bled into here, and so I just made it into something else. It's like, what's that book, A Beautiful Oops? It was like that. So do I recommend this? I thought it was great. I enjoy doing it. And like I said, it's something that I think I will have my kids do when they are older. I think maybe more high school. I think this would be good for high school level and adult level to work on. I wouldn't use it with middle school, but that's just me. If you have a very kind of patient, artistic child who doesn't get easily frustrated, then maybe you could use this for younger, but that's my recommendation on it. Now, I'll show you kind of what I've been doing, like what might be good things to follow up this with. So I have this book that I had bought, I don't know, a couple years ago. I've always been interested in watercolor, but I've never really been able to do it very well. In fact, let me see if I can find in my sketchbook here. I tend to use like the watercolor pencils because I like the watercolor look, but I never was able to do it very well, so I would just use the watercolor pencils. So anyway, I had this book already, and this is called Drawing and Painting Beautiful Flowers. And what I like about this particular book is that it gives you help with the drawing. So it doesn't just show you how to paint the flower, it shows you kind of how to draw it first, different like angles and things like that. And that to me is really helpful if you're not necessarily strong at drawing. Especially flowers can be so hard to draw. So I think this is a really good one that you could follow up after you finish the Wonders of Watercolor. This might be a good book to move on to. Also, this is one I borrowed from the library that I really like. And this is Nature Painting in Watercolor. Learn to paint florals, ferns, trees, and more in colorful contemporary watercolor. And the thing that I like about this one in particular is that they do the lessons in a way where you're pretty much just going with paint directly onto the paper. You're not drawing anything first. And so I feel like this can be helpful if you don't feel very strong in drawing. This kind of gives you a little bit more freedom to go right to the paper, which can be a little scary, but I don't know. There was something that I liked about that better, because I also hate when you can see my pencil lines in a watercolor afterwards. So I'll show you the ones that I did from those. Let's see. I did these leaves, which I like this one and I like this one. I didn't really like how that one turned out, but that's all right. And that was from the nature painting book. I think that was too. This one was from the Beautiful Flowers book. And let's see. I think this one was too. That was from the nature painting. And that might be it. Yeah. So that's all I've done from those so far. But like, this is one I will purchase because I think it's that good. And whenever anyone in my family finishes this Wonders of Watercolor book, I think that both of these would be good ones to move on to. This is one that I haven't used yet, but is kind of next on my list that I borrowed from the library. It's called Everyday Watercolor, Learn to Paint Watercolors in 30 Days. And I like how this one starts with section 1 on technique. You have day 1. And it just takes you like every day you do something different. Day 3, straight lines and triangles. And then you get into really pretty complex projects, which is scary to me, but also very exciting that maybe I could paint something like that. Let me show you. Like, this seems crazy to me, but I would love to be able to paint something like that. So this seems like it'll kind of build up to that really nicely. So this one is next on my list to do. And then a couple other things. I realized that I really needed to practice more drawing as well. And I saw this book on Michelle G's channel. It's called You Can Draw in 30 Days. So I borrowed this from the library and I really like it. In fact, this is one I'm going to have my middle schooler work through because I think it's done really well. What did I do from this one? I only worked on cylinders, I believe, so far. So, but I think it's really doable. And then this can translate to your watercolor because it's going to strengthen your drawing. And then another one I picked up was this Drawing Cute Birds in Colored Pencil, because I don't feel that strong in colored pencils. And what I like about this one as well is that sometimes they draw the animal in the beginning, but a lot of times you're just going right in and almost kind of color blocking it in a way. And I kind of liked that. And I was really hesitant on some of these and didn't think they were going to turn out, or partway through didn't think they were turning out, and I just kind of stuck with it. And they really turned out quite nicely. And I think you learn a lot about how to layer colors in this book. It's not super detailed, but I don't know. When I first flipped through it, I was like, this isn't going to work. And then I was like, well, just do one. And then I did one and I thought, I was kind of able to do that. That turned out. So I do like this one actually quite a bit. So I got that from the library as well. And that's what I've kind of done from that one so far. And then, okay, so the last thing I wanted to show you is after I finished the Wonders of Watercolor, I wanted to see how much my watercolor had really improved. So during the pandemic, well, I purchased this before the pandemic. I had gotten this watercolor box from Let's Make Art. In fact, one of you had mentioned in one of my videos, oh, you should try Let's Make Art. Well, I had ordered this little box. The company has gone through a lot of changes, so it's still around and you can watch them on YouTube, but as of right now, they don't do these little boxes. I think they may be adding them again in the future, but anyway, I had purchased this probably in like 2019. It came with 4 projects. It came with like the watercolors that you would need, like the colors, a couple brushes, and like a tray. I think I added these on. Anyway, I bought it and then was immediately intimidated by the projects, and so I didn't do anything with it. And then during the pandemic, you know, everyone was home and all of a sudden we started doing more art, and so I pulled out this project. This is what it's supposed to look like. And I watched the video and I did the project, and it turned out, you know, okay. Not great, but I was pleased at the time with it. I thought it was all right. Anyway, so I decided to go back and do this project again after completing the Wonders of Watercolor to see if my skills had improved. So I will show you the one that I did. So that's the one I did afterwards. So you can gauge if you think I improved after doing the watercolor curriculum. So I think I got better. I still see a lot of mistakes, but I think it's definitely better than this one. So at any rate, that is everything I have to show you. Oh, also with this Let's Go Learn, so many of their tutorials are available on YouTube that you can just watch for free. And I think I might have enough confidence now to try like this one. I really want to do this one. But anyway, and also the kind of creator, as she's the owner now, Sarah Cray, she has a couple of watercolor books out. In fact, I put one on hold from the library. It hasn't come in yet. So that might be something you'd like to check out as well. All right, so that is what I have for you today. I hope you found that helpful. I think that this is a worthwhile purchase. I'm glad that I used it. It gave me the confidence to kind of move on from here, and I thought that this was a really good stepping stone. So I think you could definitely use this in your homeschool. Like I said, I think it leans a little older, but I thought it was great either for you to do along, you know, with your kids. That's the other thing, is if you had younger kids you wanted to use this with, you could do it with them. But as far as if they were doing it independently, I feel like, you know, probably high school would be a better age range, but you could certainly model this and teach it to your kids from this, and that would make it more accessible to younger kids as well. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you. I will leave a link down in the description box if you're interested in this. I do have a 10% off code because I am an affiliate for Thistles and Biscuits. So I will leave all that down below. If you have any questions, I will talk to you in the comments.